Yeah, not so much the teaching method, but the learning method. Like what you feel like worked more for you, and at what point did you feel like what happened that got you that aha moment, that oh snap moment where you're like, damn, I think I'm getting this now. I can see myself being profitable.
Yeah, I would say like the biggest thing that got me, I guess, profitable per se, is so you're gonna religiously back test, right? It's like what I mean is like you're gonna learn something. Like when I teach you things, you're gonna go back and take those things and apply them by like going back in your charts. Like on my weekends, my when the market was closed on the weekends, like I would spend literal hours. Like there was probably a good 2 year period where I didn't really see my friends that much, to be honest with you. And you don't have to be that crazy with it, but like you definitely need to be obsessed with getting better. It's like any sport, right? I treat this is a sport to me. Like trading is a sport. So like for me, it's like I went back and I back tested. So like if you can see my screen, I was up. I'd pull up a chart, right? And I would look each day, right? And there's different aspects to your game, right? Daily bias, right? Executing on the lower time frames, managing the trade. And I would go back in these time frames and I would like make notes. So let's say I wanted to study breaks of structure. I'd go back in trading view 6 months on AUD USD and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Right. So I go back to like 2023 or something like a year or two, and I would mentally trade every, in this case, New York session from 2023 to 2025. So like I would do that in maybe like 3 hours. I would sit down and look, and I would do, obviously it's fast forwarded, right? So you back test. So like in a day's worth of trading, I just traded 2 years. You know what I mean? Like I just got more and more reps doing the same thing over and over again. The next thing that I did was like I learned, once, obviously, I think the reps, having more and more reps, really like it makes you learn faster, right? And I think Trading View with the replay option is like that's like the best thing. So then, the next day, then I would go and I would look at like Euro, and then I do the same thing on Euro for like a year or 6 months of back testing, right? So I'd trade every New York session for 6 months. And I would do that in like 2 hours, right? Because you can fast forward. A 15-minute candle is like a 5 second candle. So I would get a lot of reps in a short amount of time. Because you pretty much, I mean, with TradingView, you can literally go back. You can go back to, dude, you can go back all the way to 2016. You can get 10. This is when I first started trading 10 years ago, right? All the way back here. So you can literally trade every New York session that I've ever traded since I've become a trader. And you could probably do that in like a month, or not even a month. You probably do that in a week, right? You know what I mean? So it's like you get more and more reps seeing it over and over and over again. And then just noting like, this went wrong here, this went right here, um, and then do that same thing on another pair, right? Boom, boom, boom. And so I got really good at slips and technicals then. And then I would say other pieces to the game were like getting a better understanding of how to incorporate the news, right? So then I would learn something about the news, right? Like fundamental analysis, right? And then say, okay, cool, like the market does this during this, right? This time and going back and seeing like 6 months, the same thing. I go back in the same month period. Okay, FOMC was here. I 6 months of this, I would lose. And if I traded today, I win if I traded today. And you start to get a feel of like what happens during news during certain times, right? And then so you got the news part, you got the technical part, then you start to learn about like how you're feeling when you're executing trades, right? Or like what you're actually doing. Because a lot of times what happens is people hit a wall because they think that when they become traders they're supposed to um they're supposed to win every trade if the setup takes. It's like I did everything right and I still lost. That happens a lot. Like most
Yeah.
of the times that I trade and you guys see me take a loss, I did everything I was supposed to, right? Now sometimes I rush it, sometimes it's like anything. Like you're never gonna perform 100% perfectly. But like there's sometimes where you do everything right and you're still losing. And usually what happens is when people take that loss, they either took way too big of a loss and now they're $1,000 down to $80, $100, $200, and they can't come back from that. They mentally can't come back from that loss because then they spend the rest of their money trying to get that money back. Or something in them just triggers, right? Where they're like, fuck, I need to get my money back. This is my rent. I can't believe I did this. This is so dumb. I knew I shouldn't have did this. Like I now how am I gonna pay my bills? Or now I can't buy that car, or dang, now I gotta tell my girlfriend that I just lost money doing this. Like all that stuff pops in their head, right? And then they start overtrading, overtrading, overtrading. So taking
Yeah.
notes on like what I would do when I messed up, you get to the point where you just blow account after account after account after account, and people don't understand why they're doing it. So you got to learn, and they always blame it on technicals. They never blame it on psychology. Like most times, people will say, "Dang, I should have traded," or "That went against me like that." It's like, no, your emotions got in the way. So understanding your technicals, understanding your emotions, and then I was just obsessed with uh with understanding how traders did this stuff. So like, you can still see my screen, right?
Yep, yep. So far we're at like I guess reps, right?
All right, what's up, guys? So in this video,
Self management is what I
Yeah.
guess I'm going to call that.
So like emotional management and journaling, because like for me, like okay, so like I'm a guy that like I would play sports, right? I think this is no different than basketball, like or business, right? Like
Okay.
I think all this stuff, like a lot of most people's flaws in anything are really personality flaws and not skill flaws, right? So like if you are bad at fighting or like MMA, right? The underlying mental stuff is probably going to be the same thing you're going to bring to trading. Like you're going to have the same issues there. If you have a problem with discipline in there, you're not probably not going to be disciplined here. Or if you have a problem being overzealous in one area, you're probably going to, it's your personality flaws, right? So like you gotta figure out what those are. So a lot of times people blow accounts, right? And you're gonna see this. You might even experience this too, which is not unnormal if you do, right? Most people are gonna blow accounts
Yeah.
and they're gonna say, damn, my technical analysis was off, or damn, I just shouldn't have traded during news, or damn. And most of the time, what happens is they blow their account in one day, and it's risk management. And the risk management not only manages your risk, but it manages your mental too, because you put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform when it's unnecessary. So what I mean by that is like, let's say you got $100,000 account and you're risking 10% per trade. Well, you only got ten trades before that thing blows up. So now you're
Hmm.
putting a crazy amount of performance on yourself. And I've had losing streaks of like 10, 12 trades in a row. Like I've been through that before, right? Now you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself because if I'm risking 1% per trade, now I'm just down 10% versus 10% a trade. I'm down my entire account. Now I just blew my account when I didn't need to. And what happens is traders think they master trading, right? Because they think they know it all. And it doesn't matter what you know, you always can lose. The best traders lose. Like everybody still loses, bro. Like if you never get better than 50% in your entire trading career, like you only win 50% of your trades, you could be a millionaire doing that. And I'm not saying you will, but like the best traders in the world are somewhere in that 50 to mid 60% range. So that means we're still losing a lot. So, but
Like the
it's
most profitable traders in the world, you say that on
dude,
average, that's kind of where they're at.
dude, I would be honest with you, like I shoot before I would say coming into this year. I was shooting like 66%, 66, like mid 60%. So there's weeks and months where I'll have 80% months where I'm like winning 80% of my trades. And there's also weeks where I'll be winning like 40 or 30, like for 30% of
Hmm.
my trade. And it evens out to about 60 something
But that's
over.
really good because that's
That's
percentage
that's
wise,
really good.
that's
That's
two
really good.
thirds of your trades. You're up,
Yeah, exactly.
literally.
But even if I only won half, like let's say I just won 50% coin flip, I would still be making money because I'm managing my risk, right? And I'm really only risking like 1% of my trades.
Do you
Because
think that has to do with risk to reward? Like, is it because of the 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 1? Is it that makes you obviously it has
yeah,
to be that?
yeah, it has something to do with that. Um, I'm also really selective. So like there's people that I know, like when I started trading NASDAQ, I traded more. I traded a lot more when I traded NASDAQ because I was trying to pass accounts. And so my 60% fell to about 50, about 50%. But like I'm very like I'm not trying to trade every day. The more you expose yourself to the market, the more you're gonna lose. Right.
Yeah.
So like um I would say
Study it and then snipe when you're ready.
yeah, so like the problem here is that like people try to trade every single day, and it's just a common fact that more market exposure means that you have a better chance to lose, right? Like the kid who, if you never step on the court, like who do you think is going to lose more games? The person that plays ten games a week, or the person that plays one game a week and and is very selective? Well, just off of sheer numbers, right? Even without considering their skill sets, like the guy that plays more games is probably also going to lose more games too. So you put yourself in an opportunity to lose more money. Um, but so I'm very selective with my trade, especially when like Forex, bro, or like currencies. Like whenever you see me trade euro and whenever you see me trade like the actual currency stuff, dude, we're in those sessions and like I might trade like two trades in that day. And I'm only trading 3 days a week. So if we find a week where it's like I'm taking more than 6 setups in a week, then I'm probably doing way too much. And that's if every day in those 3 days is a good trading day. Like you saw me hop online and say like, it's probably not a good day to do this. I'm not doing this today. Like,
Yep.
so I would say that. So here's another guy too. Um, I guess so. Going back to your original question, so technical analysis every single day. Um, I'd say the second thing that I uh I do is the fundamentals, learning how that stuff and back
Yeah,
testing.
like your oh shit moment, your oh snap moment, and also what you think got you to like damn, I'm seeing it. Like, okay, this is making
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, and it's like I mean, think about it from this perspective. Like, um, who's your favorite fighter? Top
Man,
five, top
running
two, top three.
John Jones is a savage.
John Jones. Okay, there's the GOAT. So John Jones has thrown 10 times, I probably 100 times more punches in practice than he actually has in games. He's probably thrown thousands of punches every
Yep.
single day, right? Just to get in the ring for 6 minutes or 5 minute periods, right? Like, I don't know how long an actual fight is, but I know it's less than 15 or 20 minutes.
Yep.
So like he's practicing for 6 months just to get in the ring for 20 minutes. And it's the same thing with this, where like, dude, I have so many hours of back testing where it's like I've sat there like from 2015 to 2018, I sat at my computer for no less than 2, 3 hours a day. Right. And that's
Okay, but let me ask you this: like doing what exactly? Not exactly, but doing what? Like, how do you?
so
How,
in this
how
case, it would be studying a strategy, right? So there's been multiple like iterations of stuff that I was trying to learn, right? And right now, I think I'm at the point where it's like I'm not really trying to learn or add anything new to the strategy. Like I think I would read price really well. But like to give you an instance, right? Like let's say we go to London session. So it's the same stuff that we would do, right? So like I would be like, this was Friday, right? Or was this was Friday. So I didn't catch this trade. I actually took a trade on Friday on Euro. Um, and we could talk about that too. But so like the whole strategy, right? If we know that we're gonna try and, New York session continuation, I would literally I would go back 6 months or a year at one time, and I would trade or look to trade every New York session continuation since the beginning of the year or like since last September. So that's like 6 months worth of trading days. And I would come here and I'd replay, right, like this. And I would say, okay, cool.
and then you would draw out your Asia, your London, your New
I
York.
would do all of that, bro. I would come here and I would say, okay, cool. It's 7 o'clock right now. This is where I would be coming on board. This is start of New York right here, right? And I'm sitting there trying to trade everything. So like, okay, cool. What am I looking for? Okay, well, on this particular day, what's going on? Is there news today? Uh, so I go back, I'd open up Forex Factory right here. You can still see my screen, right? Like even when I'm typing.
Yep.
So I go to Forex Factory, right? And I go back in time, and I don't even know if you can, how far you can go back. But wait, this is September 2024 AUD. So September 5th, uh, September 6th, 2024. And then I would go back in time. And this is that day was, right? So coming into New York, man, I knew, okay, this is non-farm. So what am I not doing on non-farm? I'm probably not trading
Bunch
non-farm.
of red folders.
Bunch of red folders. So if I was going to trade that day, then maybe I would be looking for what my overall bias is. Okay. And I'd hop up to the daily time frame and I'd say, okay, cool. In the daily time frame, we are here. So what's going on here? Right? We were bearish. We had just taken out liquidity right there. We broke structure, all stuff like that. There's a huge daily fair value gap up there, right? So I would draw this out and I would scenario it like that. And so, okay, so this is what's going on, 15-minute time frame. Okay, cool. This is that fair value gap right there. If you go back to the daily, you can see that this hadn't happened yet. None of this. So when you do trading replay, it basically pulls it back up to the daily time frame and it gives you the what happened the entire day. So you already know what kind of happened, but none of this has happened yet when I jump back down to the 15-minute time frame. So I see this huge daily fair value gap right there. Okay, cool. So I know NFP is happening today. Obviously, my rules state that I'm not going to trade NFP. But if I was going to trade today, where would I do it? Right? Or just watch price play out. So cool. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, well, what happened right here? This has got to be 8:30. So 8:30 is NFP. What happens right there? Well, let's see what happened when we jump down to that 15-minute time frame. Huh. No, nothing there. We ran up here. 3-minute time frame.
It went straight to that fair value.
Went straight to that. That's the daily fair value gap. So
Mhm.
that's what we saw in the daily time frame. Obviously, it looks a lot bigger because it's daily stuff. We're on the 5 minute.
Mhm.
So now I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what's going on here? Do I see anything on these time frames? If I go back and I watch the stuff play out in real time, after the 3 minute. Oh, can I not get to the? Oh, it won't let me go back in time that far because it's 6 months back. So based on this time frame, do I see anything that I would want to take? Well, not really, but we do have what this inverted fair value gap right there, right? That we just broke when we traded through
Mhm.
that. So maybe I would say, okay, cool. Well, let me take a sell right here for, I don't know, 10 lots, which would be, a million in the currency. So let me do that. My stop loss right above the high. And then all I'm doing is I'm not just looking for entries, I'm also looking at price because this is how you get your belief level up too, right? So you're looking at like how does price react to the stuff that I'm teaching you, right? So what happens here? We had that fair value gap rate from that low to that high. Look and see what happens in this zone right here. See how it tried to break through consequent encroachment, but it couldn't, and then it just rejected.
Yep.
So maybe I'll say, okay, cool. We inverted that gap. We didn't quite take out that low, and we didn't take out the low of the day right there. So maybe there's an opportunity to at least get a trade to these lows. And those are relatively equal lows, right? So this is probably going to at least at minimum take those out. So let me get in here. Let me take this chops, put a stop loss above this high. Why above this high? Because all that traffic above to the all that noise to the consequent encroachment and it still couldn't break through lets me know that the market does not want to go back up here. It probably doesn't want to go up to that fair value yet. So let me hop in this and then see what happens. And we can target this low. We can target some of the other lows in the week because this is Friday and we spent the whole week. We've been trading in a range, but we spent the week going back up here. So maybe this will be our Friday reversal back in the range or back in alignment with things. So boom. And what happens? Bam. It starts taking out these levels, right? So I would do that every single day.
Yeah.
But like, and that's just one session. So this would have been 3 hours sitting in front of the charts, but I did that in 5 minutes. And then so then I would go back to this day and see what I saw there, right? And then this day, right? And then this day, and then seeing, okay, well, I saw this was a crazy move down. Let me go back and play it, right? So I'm getting reps over and over and over again. So in 15 minutes, I just did a whole trading week. Right? So I'd sit there over and over and over again. And so I got it. So at least when I got to the charts, from a technical perspective, I could see like everything that was going on. Like I could see, you know, I knew what should happen, what I want to see happen. So then everything else was just managing my mental, right? And making sure that I didn't do anything stupid, right? And then managing the risk, which if you manage your risk right, and you know like when things should be happening, like you know what times you want to trade and when you're like basically your clock in and your clock out are and what should be happening with those different macro times, things like that, you're gonna you're gonna start to build out like what your trading day should look like. And this, I just got stopped out of my trade, or maybe I was waiting all sessions like 11:30, and I'm like, okay, well, it's 11:30 now. I know based on everything I back tested, this market's gonna start getting calm around 12:30. The odds of me finding a good trade this late in the day is probably not gonna happen. So probably this is it for the day, and I should close my laptop. So you start to get that feeling of what you should and shouldn't do. And again, I was learning on Forex and currencies. So these markets don't rush you, to be honest with you. Like they don't move. Like if you, and again, I'm not telling you to do this, but when you trade NASDAQ, the whips are so, it's designed to emotionally like mess with you because the whips might be so crazy on this that like you might just say, okay, I think the market's going to go down. I think it's going to do that. Right. And if you're trading euro, it would probably do that. It'd be a little bit of pullbacks, but then it would just kind of go down, right? Look what NASDAQ did. Instead of just going down, it ran you all the way back up here, took this out, then ran all the way back down there, then ran all the way back up there, then took you down there. Like,
Mhm.
so it's like the whips are not just, you know, it's not just your lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. It's lower high as hell, and then lower low as hell, and then
Yep.
lower than bringing you all the way back. So it's whipping you around. Like this range from here to here is like 300 points, just that swing. And so you next thing you know, you're down or up 300 points in a swing. So it messes with you emotionally because when you take that short right there, because you think everything's going to go lower and it's going to keep going, and then next thing you know, you get stopped out 300 points in profit, and you just lost 5 bands. You're like, oh fuck. And then once you start saying fuck, I lost, that's when your mental starts kicking in. You're like, I need to get this back. I need to make this back. I need to make this back. Right. So
Yeah,
having
that's when it's time to kind of check yourself the absolute most.
no, honestly, you need to check yourself before then. Because
Oh,
once you
okay.
get into I need to get like for me, this is usually how it goes. Like, um, I get into a situation where I will take the trade, and if I take a loss or if I take a series of losses, then uh and I'm not monitoring myself the whole time, I'll crash out. And I don't think anybody like I have no issues like admitting that because it's human
Yeah,
nature,
it's real.
right? It's real, right? So like I need to monitor myself before I crash out. So I'm taking active inventory. Just like I'm reading these charts, I'm also reading myself and reading my head. I'm like, okay, cool. Put your mindset in this. Remember, you're looking for this, and this. If it doesn't happen, we need to close these trades, right? Because if I take that big of a loss, or if I take a loss stupid quickly, and I'm like, boom, and it's just like I'm in and out, and I don't know, like best case scenario is like I'm down. Let's say I'm in this trade right here, like I just said, and I'm short two contracts on NQ, and next thing you know, it runs all the way back up here and I lose my $1,000, or I lose my couple $1,000 or whatever it is in a couple seconds, that it's like me turning into the Hulk. Like I just lose it. And I'm like, fuck, how do I get this back? Right. And so like knowing
Like,
that
damn, that's not
beforehand,
fair. Let me try again.
exactly. Or no, or now it's ready. Now it's ready. Or
Oh,
what usually happens is like you'll take the loss and then you'll see it go in the other direction. You're like, okay, maybe it's going back up. Let me just, you know what I mean?
get back in
So
real quick.
that chasing thing will mess you up because you'll run all the way up here and next, you'll fall right back. And then you're like, oh, my original idea was right. So let me go short. Let me go short again. What happens? You're pulling right there. So you find yourself on the wrong side of the trade and you're just reacting. And once you get into react mode, you're either gonna make $1 million or you're gonna blow $1 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to win in the long term. So you need to really figure that emotional side out quickly. And it's one of the reasons that I'm teaching you on currency stuff because it moves slower,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't move like, I mean, there's times it moves crazy, but usually it moves crazy because we're at war, right? Or there's some geopolitically crazy event that's going on, or it's a news release. And we know when the news is gonna hit, so we don't need to be in the market when some of that new stuff is going on. And then, you can't time like um when I think I'm gonna upload this video to YouTube, so I don't want to like talk about countries, but when that whole like European conflict happened, um over there in like Eastern Europe with all the countries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had a friend that was trading euro, and he lost $15,000 because he was in the markets when that country got invaded. And the markets tanked. I can't even tell you when it was. I think it was like 2021 or at the end of 2020, going
Oh
into
yeah, yeah.
2022. Yeah, something like that. And he blew $15,000 on a $20,000 account in 3 minutes, a minute, because it hit him, the shock hit him, and then it's like maybe it's gonna turn around, maybe it's gonna turn around. It did not turn around. It just kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. So those are the times you can't predict. Like a war could happen tomorrow, it's like if I'm in the market, I'm just kind of screwed. But you got to put. That's why you have your stops. That's why you have all those things, and you stay out of the market for a week or so until the markets kind of calm back down. Um, but yeah, man. So you can't
Yeah,
really.
so geopolitical issues is the time to stay away from the market, or on the contrary, or is it the opposite to where things get so volatile to where it's like that's where you can potentially like insanely come up on accident? It's terrible to ask that, but like it is kind of that
Oh,
way for
like I mean,
currency.
somebody's always coming up, right? Like somebody, like think about it like this. Somebody's always on the other side of your trades, or should be, right? So like that's what I mean when I say like we're selling to buyers and we're buying from sellers, like traders, there's somebody that's always on the other side of your trade. So if you lost $1 million here, there's somebody or
Made
groups
that,
of
yeah.
people that came up $1 million on this, right? So like that's the cool thing about the markets is that there's always somebody else on the other side of the trades. Like somebody's always losing money, somebody's always making money. We just want to be the person that's making money more times than we're losing. So going back to your question, technical stuff, fundamental stuff, and then
Yeah, so back testing, right? Basically, like I guess you're kind of saying
yeah, back
what
testing
got
your
you there.
strategy.
Back testing.
So everything that we talk about on a day-to-day basis, like you're going back in the charts and you're doing that. Like that was 2 days that I showed you. I'm
Hmm.
doing that. I'm sitting down on a Saturday morning and I'm probably not, and I'm clocking in like a work day and I'm going back and I'm testing the entire month of March. I might went and got lunch and then came back and did the whole beginning half of the year. And then Sunday, I go look at, the last half of the last 6 months of the other year, right? And so I'm
Yeah,
like
so
looking at that stuff just to get reps over and over and over again. So I'm compressing time frames. So in 1 week, I just traded a year. You know what I mean? Like I just did a whole year's worth of trading in a weekend, right? So I would
nice.
do that over and over again till I got it. Then match that with fundamentals. So then I got my strategy down. So once I got my strategy down, I'm taking um I'm taking that stuff and um I'm sitting down in charts live or on demo. And then I'm like, trying to manage and see if my strategy works, right? When it works, when it doesn't work, how I'm reacting when I lose, how I'm reacting when I'm winning. Um, and then taking notes of all that stuff. When I go live, same thing, right? Those crash out moments, those like, like how the emotions, how are my emotions? I'm journaling all that stuff. Okay, well, today, I took a loss and then I made the loss worse because I doubled back into the trade. Or today I completely just lost, but I didn't overtrade and it was good. Or today I won and this is why, this was the setup, this is what I saw, everything played out exactly. So I'm making notes on all those things and I'm treating myself like a pro before I'm a pro. Um, and so that's the third part. The last part that I did, and this is more for a belief level thing, is I would go to these podcast interviews, right? And I would sit there and just watch. Trading Nut was a big one for me. Um, because that's why it's so cool that I do this stuff with them now.
Cool.
But I would sit up and watch these, dude, like all these interviews that Cam used to do. Cam is the host. And I would sit there years with this year. This is only just in the last year. But like he's like I would listen to this stuff religiously. Like he has it on the podcast app, so I'd be in the car watching stuff. This is 3 years ago. I mean, like, dude, I remember I would watch people like Q Banks and like old Lambo Raul, and I would listen to these guys talk about their trading breakdowns, their trading journey, and I would study. Like I would, yeah, I watched this like a million times. This like probably 1,000 of these views are me, like this one right here. And so like I would watch all of these different things because I wanted to learn stuff, like how they manage stuff, how they thought about the game, what their journey was, their come up. And I would just get obsessed with it, bro. Like I got to the point where I was like looking, like I was treating this like my Netflix, right? So I wanted to
Yeah.
learn about everything because the money is cool. Like don't get me wrong, but the money, like anytime you make a lot of money in anything, whether it's sports, yeah, Q Banks, this one right here, I've watched that a million times too. Um, like I would learn about their strategies. I would learn how they saw the game. If they traded the same way as me, I would try and see if because a lot of times what would happen is they would open up the charts and break the charts down too. So then I would say, okay, cool. Well, let me see if I'm seeing what they're seeing. Like there's this guy here, J Cap, and I'll just pull up. I'm big on him because I think he's probably one of the best traders that I've ever came across. Um, but he had this. Yeah, yeah, this video right here where he would talk about like obviously it's his interview, and he was one of the people that got me thinking that I didn't just need one funded account, I needed like a bunch of funded accounts. And he's
Hmm.
funded $3 million, and he's talking about the idea of making a little bit on a lot of accounts, right? So like instead of trying to make a lot on a little account, right? And he was
Hmm.
like he was talking about like making, it helps your management, it helps your um your mental, right? Because now it's like if I'm trying to turn this $50,000 account to $100,000, I gotta double it, right? And so now I'm thinking trying to take bigger trades, I'm taking on more risk. Whereas if I had 3 million in funded accounts, making $50,000 on that is a lot less risk, right? So it's a little bit on each account. But then they'd also have like these segments where they break the trades down too, right? And so like this guy, he talked about having fair value gaps. Obviously, that's the way that we trade, right? So having and he broke down a scenario, and I'll play it real quick,
You started.
where he basically breaks down his weekly setup and like what he was looking for in the long term. So the same stuff that I do in those weekend calls, he called it out like right here for this particular time frame. So then I would go into the time, like watch this, and I would pause it and I would try to see if I saw what he was seeing, right? And like do basically draw like I would go back in my charts on this day back in 2021 in the weekly time frame and say, as he talked about that example, I would go back into my charts and then I would pull it up. So this particular example, I think was like August 21st, 2021. And I would do this with everybody that traded in the same way as me, right? And so I'd go back on the charts and I would say, okay, I think this is 2021 right here, August, right? So this is what I was looking at for, right? Boom. Okay, well, what do I see here? Right. Okay, cool. I see the market. What is this? This is a run on liquidity,
Hmm.
right? We see the market ran up. What do we have to the left of us? We got that trend line right there, right? We see the market ran up and took that trend line. Boom. Took all that liquidity out on that wick. And then what did it do? It consolidated and just fell to hell. What did it do when it did that? Left the fair value gap wide open. Boom. And then what did it do a few months later back in March? It was probably a news event, right? It was Monday. Ran back up into there and then closed there. So then as he's talking about it, I'm like, okay, cool. So what would I do next if this was me and this is the higher time frames, what would I do next? Now I'm saying, okay, cool. Well, I think this would be bearish, right? It closed, it ran up into that gap, and then it failed to close above that high, right? Boom. and then went to these lows, right? So then I'm breaking this down like, okay, this is a weekly bias on this time frame. Let me go down to the daily and then trade the next 6 months of this, right? Or the next month of this to see if this plays out. Like if we're gonna take sell side down there. I know we're gonna do this because I know hindsight, I know how the market's already turned out, but I'm gonna go back in these markets every day and trade this. And it'd take me about an hour or two to go through this whole week and then see if we're getting opportunities to trade. I can't pull it up now because it'll say that I can't go down that low because this is like 3 or 4 years ago. But then I'm trading all these. Each one of these is a week. So I'm going in and trading that 5 days, that 5 days, that 5 days, that 5 days to take out these lows, right? To see if we run to those levels. And so I'm doing that every single interview with people that trade like me. Then I'm going back and doing my own back testing. Then I'm just learning and I'm trying to soak in as much as possible. So it gets to the point where it's like, dude, by the time I actually get to the charts, it's like practice all over again. It doesn't even really feel like crazy pressure because it just feels like another day in the office.
Yeah, just a lot of back testing, a lot of it.
A lot of
Most of it
back
is
test.
back testing.
Yeah, a lot of back testing, a lot of understanding your strategy. And then yeah, it's like I used to take, dude, I played in a lot of basketball games when I was growing up, a lot. But I probably would shoot, I don't know, a few hundred jump shots a day to take 10 in a game. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like it's the same idea where it's like you just want to be extra prepared and you want to know what your flaws are too. Like for me, I have a tendency to work on things that I'm already good at instead of working on things that I'm bad at. So like if you know if risk management is the thing that you suck at, then you need to put yourself, you need to practice having risk management, even if it's like doing something like this where you come on the charts and you're like, I just need to practice on a demo account managing 1% risk, 1% risk, 1% risk. So that just gets drilled into your head that you're only risking 1% or 2% or whatever it is for your account. Excuse me. And then, or if you're emotionally like off, right, then you need to have that stuff that we talk about that I'm working on for you guys, like the whole emotional side of like how to make your head talk, basically walk through all of your mapping out your problems so that when they pop up, you can close the laptop, right? Which is hard to do in practice because it's not real money, it's not real money,
Mhm.
but it's like taking that slowly. So like before you can even get to I'm funded, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million in funding, and I'm taking out $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, like all that stuff. This is the stuff that you got to work on because I guarantee you, John Jones is not thinking about how much money he's gonna make while he's in the ring. He's literally,
Right.
I'm coming in, I'm executing, I'm leaving, right? I'm coming in, I'm executing, I'm leaving. And so that's how you need to be. It's like I'm coming in, I'm executing, I'm leaving. Okay, cool. I made 500 a day. I'm coming in, executing, I'm leaving. Okay, I lost 100 a day. Whatever. It's cool. Cause I followed my plan. I'm coming in, I'm executing, I'm leaving. Okay, cool. Today was a great day. I made 1,000. Coming in, executing, leaving. Okay, cool. I lost a little bit. Okay, now it's 2 weeks of losses. Okay, cool. But I'm still coming in, executing, and leaving. Okay, and then now I got 3 weeks of wins, and I was coming in, executing. Like, you just get so obsessed with the process that you don't care about the money. And that's the part even me, I'm still getting there, but it's every day it's that process over and over and over again. And you gotta love it too. Like I think if you love what you're looking at, then it's like it makes it a lot easier. So if you're only focusing, if you can't get past that and you have a hard time focusing on the process, then you might not actually like it. You know what I mean? You might just see it as a way to make money. So you
Yeah,
got
you have to enjoy the skill and want to learn the skill and do it for the skill. Like that should
exactly
be it
like
should be that first.
exactly. And so I like Kyle. His name is J Cap, but it's Kyle is his real name. Um, I like him because he talks about that a lot. And he's probably one of the people, again, I don't really look up to a lot of people in this trading industry because I think that a lot of people are scammers, to be honest with you, or just not as good as they're making themselves seem. I think with prop firms, it's starting to become less and less of people faking stuff because you can't fake a payout. Like the company's gonna announce like if you got paid or not. Now maybe they could be in cahoots, like they could be scamming together, like the company and them, like pretending. But like I think, for the most part, you're gonna see people like, I mean, there's certain people that they just flash their cars all day long, and you know, he's a trader too, right? But all I ever see him talk about is cars, right? Or people flash their cars, right? She's a trader, right? But there's people out here you can see that they're obsessed with just the charts and that's all they care about. I'm not saying they're more legit, but it's probably more of a, thing that they're probably going to be legit. If you see a guy leading with his car and he's like, I drive a Lamborghini, right? This is why you should learn from me. And I'm not gonna say they're not scammers, but just be careful. Because especially in Miami, you're gonna see everybody. I mean, everybody in Miami drives a supercar. It's like for what? But they all drive crazy cars. So, but yeah, I would say like looking for people like that, you know what I mean? Like that are really technically based,
For
right?
sure.
Stuff like that. Like this dude, he's made a I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm a fan of his. I'm not gonna lie, but he's made like 2 million in the last month on prop firms, and
Yeah.
this video was made 25 minutes ago. It's 200 grand. No, this is crazy. Like again, I'm not advocating. Like I don't like endorse people when it comes to this trading stuff, but I've literally watched him make $1.2 million in the last month. That's 200 in the last 27. That was the video was in the last hour. This was
Yeah.
last week. He made 400K. And that week it was 100K. And then before that it was 700K. Right. So he's up like 1.2 million in the last month. And I watched him do this. And he sees the market the same way we do. And all of the stuff is verifiable because it's prop firms. So that's the kind of stuff that like I care about, right? And so it's just process, process, process. Um, and so a lot of times it just feels like especially when you learn how time and price fully affects everything, right? Like it literally just feels like a trading day, like a work day. Like I log in at 7. This is my assignment to see if we can get price to go down here. Okay, cool. Well, let's see what news is up. So then, that's going to make, the market more volatile. Let's see what these macro times are hitting for. And if I see anything I want to see during that window, then I'm going to take it. If not, cool, whatever. Live to trade another day. And so it's like it just kind of becomes a job. And I think once it becomes a job, it leads to the last piece to this puzzle, which is not trading as much. So you're back testing like crazy because you want to learn your strategy. But once you do learn everything, you feel like you have a good grasp on stuff, it's trading less. And you're gonna get in, and when you first start learning, you're gonna trade take 20 trades a day. It's just it's normal, right? Like you want to
Yeah.
see like, you know, you want to win and you want to have that feeling of like doing your thing. And so what happens is you first get into it and everything looks like a setup. When you first start trading, everything looks like a setup. You're like,
Yep.
boom. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
that's a good one right there, right there, right there. And there's probably been days where you've sent me stuff and I'm like, nah, bro, this is not like this is not it. Like this is not gonna be a good play. Um, but it takes time to train your eyes to the bad scenarios, the good ones. Like there's somebody here that was like, oh, this is a good scenario. I'm gonna go long, right? Obviously it wasn't. Um, you know what I mean? Or like any scenario, like when people saw that trend line break, they were like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe it's gonna keep going higher. Well, no, it's not. Right. So like over time you get your eyes trained to what you're looking for and you only really care about what you're looking for. So and once that happens, you start trading a lot less. Like now, this is probably the least that I ever traded in my life. Like I probably trade, I'm on the charts more because of you guys, like 3 days a week. But most of the time, it's like I find my setup for the week and I'm done. 1, 2% gain, and then I'm done. And then my job is just to keep growing my capital. So how do I get more and more fun prop firms? How do I pass more and more challenges? How do I get more and more access to capital and just keep making that same 1, 2%? Because that 1% on $100 is a dollar. That 1% on $100
Mhm.
million is $1 million. So, you know what I mean? So it's like you don't need a lot to do that. So, um, but yeah, man. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. So, um, I guess any other questions that you have about anything?
Yeah, no, just so back test and then maybe just demo, probably some challenges, but eventually it should be like, I guess it sounds like the strategy would be do a bunch of funded accounts, and then what? Just scale your personal account with the profits of the funded accounts.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you get to a point where you you do want to you want to build up your own personal accounts. I would say milk these prop firms for as much as they can, right? Like, I mean, they all have different rules, right? They all have different like processes that you need to follow in order to get past them and then obviously, make money on them. And you are at their mercy is the biggest thing. So like if all these firms and last year kind of was an eye opener, right? So like a lot of these firms shut down last year. There was a bunch of firms that stopped because MetaTrader, which is like the platform that most traders use, they they stopped accepting US clients for some of their like Forex prop firms and stuff like that. And so basically what that caused is a bunch of these prop firms to shut down because they no longer had a platform that let their traders take trades on there. And once that happened, people stopped getting their payouts. Well, people they weren't able to take challenges. When they weren't able to take challenges, basically the prop firms weren't able to pay profitable traders for their trades and stuff like that. And then these firms started shutting down one by one, right? And so imagine if you had 1 million in funding from Apex or Top Step, right? And then one day they were like, "Ah, we're not doing this anymore. We can't do this anymore. We're shutting down." Well, there goes your job. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? You can't do this anymore because you have no capital and you didn't have any personal money too. So just a big advocate of like every single prop firm, you got to try it, right? So like you gotta have as much capital across a bunch of different firms. It doesn't matter if it's Forex, futures, whatever, right? Like I'm teaching you how to trade basically stuff that you can trade in both markets. So like you can be trading Euro USD, but if all the Forex stuff shuts down one day and you need to trade prop firms, then you just hop over to 6E, right? It's the same chart. So I'm just trying to get as much funding as possible across all these different firms. And so that way, one, I have a big pool of capital, like 4 or 5 million in funding. So if I'm risking 1%, it's $40,000. So you know what I mean? So I can make more, but then I'm also protected. But when I do get payouts, I'm then taking them and putting them towards, well, obviously paying some bills, but then also putting them towards a private account or a personal account that like if all this stuff stops one day, and there's no more trading with this firm, there's no more prop firms, they're illegal now, or something crazy, right? Because you're not in control of what can happen. But
Right.
uh, you take that and then you just trade your own money, and you do your own thing. Like what if you had $1 million in your bank account, this guy made $1 million in the last month and 2 million for his whole career, right? So um do you think he needs these prop firms at this point? Nah, probably
Right.
not. He could just trade his own personal capital, but he's still doing it because he'd rather risk a very low amount of money than do that. But if all this stuff shuts down tomorrow, I guarantee he's going to load up 500,000 into his trading account and, just do his thing. That. And also, if you get good at this, there's actually really real big hedge funds on Wall Street that will, say, hey, you're a really good trader. Like join our actual hedge fund and we'll pay you a salary, we'll pay you benefits, and it'll be a job on paper technically, but it won't be anything different than what you're actually doing. So there's a lot of pros and cons to all that stuff, but you just want to diversify. Just the same way you diversify your risk, investing in a bunch of different things, you want to invest in a bunch of different prop firms. You want to have a personal account, right? So all that stuff, man. So it's there's just a lot there that you can do once you master it. And there's always going to be an opportunity for somebody that can execute and read the markets well at any level. Um, so yeah, long story short, feed your personal account with the profits. That way you're in control. You can risk what you want to risk. You can make what you want to make. And then yeah, just go from there.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be worth it would be worth like kind of upgrading the trading view account, right? If that's what it would take to back test as far back as you want, like go ahead and do that. It's worth it. It's kind of a
Yeah.
low cost investment.
Yeah, I would say I don't know. I would go for like the cheapest one. Um, the cheapest plan and just do that. I don't know. Maybe it's like 15 bucks a month or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, there's definitely a way to, invest not as much money as putting, like you guys saw me do that 10,000 challenge where I put 10K of my own money into the markets and then grew that. Um, that's like you don't have to do that. Like you can there's these prop firms, there's a way you can spend a couple $1,000s max and have everything that you need to make returns, and stuff like that. So trading view, you don't need to have the most expensive package for that. Like it could be a $15 package. Um, the prop firms, I mean, these challenges range from anywhere. I've seen them as low as 15 bucks to like a couple $100 on the future side to 1,000, couple thousand on the forex side, and everything in between. So it doesn't take a lot of money to get good at this. It just takes a lot of discipline and day in and day out and having the process. So yeah, man, there's so much opportunity in this space, so much opportunity. And you're gonna see a lot more people like right now it's still kind of like day trading is this cool thing that you just do on your laptop, you know what I mean, and make money. But like 5, 10 years from now, like people are legitimately going to be like, it's gonna be a normal career to say, like, yeah, I know I'm a day trader. Like you're gonna see so many people just making it their everyday job that it's not gonna feel any different than like working in, marketing or construction or, business or whatever. Like it's gonna be a normal thing. So, there's a lot of money in this industry.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Yeah. So that's a lot there, man. So, um, but yeah, so I guess any other questions? I know we didn't really talk about charts a lot this week, but I can walk through. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna stop it actually.